Today we're stormy a little bit, but it's
Oh,
been good. I think this
good.
week storms every day.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, flowers get watered that way.
Yep.
Very good. Alrighty, I think we're live. Hello, yay, hello, Facebook.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's Spiritual Cafe Live, where we walk together and support each other on the path to becoming more spiritually aware, enlightened, and inspired. My guest today, and I'm so excited, is my dear friend, Janet Nohavec. I know a lot of you watching know who Janet is. You've been a student of hers. You've seen her demonstrate through her church at the Journey Within in New Jersey. But if anybody doesn't know who she is, you just get ready, because Janet Nohavec is a beautiful medium. She's a spiritualist minister. She has her own church at the Journey Within in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. And how long have you been working as a medium now, Janet?
Almost 30 years.
30 years. Amazing. Wow. What a track record, and the
Mhm.
legacy that you're leaving behind as well, creating all that community, not only in New Jersey now, but New York,
Mhm.
and as well as because of, one of the little blessings that come from everybody being, stuck at home for a few months is that you've also created an incredible online community through the Journey Within. You just kind of took up the ranks and just kept going. And I love it. I think it's amazing that you just jumped right in and did that. And so everything that you were offering in person in Pompton Lakes is now online, and it's accessible to so many more people. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, we could have just sat here, but we didn't even miss a Sunday service. We were like, well, we can just sit here or we can get moving. And we didn't know anything really much about Zoom. Luckily, it was there in place for us. But, you know, we just got very quick to get stuff up. You can sit and wait for something to happen, or you can take charge. And that's what we kind of did. And it has, wonderfully been successful. So it's great. And people keep saying, are we going to keep this up after the fact? So we're going to
Yeah,
try as much as we can. So, but thanks for
good.
having me today. It's wonderful to be with you.
I'm so glad you were able to take the time. I know you're a very busy person, especially nowadays with everything
All
going
good.
on. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit, because I know, you and I, we both live and breathe this world 24/7, and it's really a way of life for us. Spiritualism, spirit communication, mediumship, all these things, and even more so with your community in New Jersey. But there's a lot of people who may be watching who like, what is spiritualism and what is this mediumship thing? Maybe they've never seen a mediumship demonstrator, or they've seen it, but they really don't understand why we do it, what the process is. How would you address that? How would you explain it to somebody who is really new to all of this?
Sure. Well, but maybe some of the people don't know, I used to be a Roman Catholic nun. And when I was in the comet, you were encouraged to sit and talk to God, the saints, the angels, and have them talk back to you. We would do that for hours and hours and hours and hours. And it was a wonderful aspect of being in the comet. Um, so now, really, what I do differently is just add grandma to the list. And that's as simple as it is. It's not woo hoo scary, as everybody says, or we shouldn't be doing it. Because if I think of logic, if I can talk to God, the saints, the angels, why would grandma be such a bad person to talk to?
Exactly.
So after I left the convent, I met a medium. And as a little girl, when I was 4, me and my sister used to see my grandfather who committed suicide. And my mom figured that can't be good because it used to be in the Catholic faith. If you committed suicide, you were doomed to roam around as a soul in distress. So when I met this medium after I left the convent, she said, "You've been seeing those spirit people since you were a little girl." And that introduced me to spiritualism and Lily Dale and the whole world. And it's had its controversy and its history, but it's also had really dynamic women. And, for women's rights movement, spiritualism was huge.
Yeah.
When women weren't allowed to speak anywhere, they were allowed to speak in spiritualist churches. So it's got a huge history in our country that I respect. And it's the only religion that asks you just not to go on faith. It's the only religion that attempts to talk to the other side, attempts to be researched by universities, is not afraid of the scientific end of it looking at us, whether it be mediumship or healing, that is very important as well. And it's massively inclusive. Women in leadership are huge. the LGBTQ, everyone is included, so
Yeah.
it's kind of very universalist. So from where I came from, and part of the biggest journey, I think sometimes, is the one we make within our own head, inside ourselves. You don't even have to go anywhere. It's like who you start to become. And I move from kind of dogmatic to, can't we just all get along, you know? And that's what I really respect about it. So talking to my mom, who's on the other side, I keep alive a relationship in a different way now. And I think the message that life is eternal and that there is no death, we move on, as Edgar Casey said, just through God's other door, is very comforting, that there's healing between two worlds. And I'm also very fond that spiritualism teaches you to embrace and develop your own spiritual powers,
Yeah.
that every one of us has those. So, as we struggle with this material world and all the stress, particularly at this moment, to go into a spiritual place, to move to a place of being in the quiet with the ministry of angels or your own loved ones is really a place of solace, when it's so stormy as it is at the minute. So.
Right. To reach beyond the physical world and find out what's true for all of us. And
Mhm.
absolutely. And I know that some people have the impression that to become a spiritualist, you have to become a medium, and that's not true, correct?
No, it's not true at all. A lot of most people may come because they've lost someone. They come to a spiritualist church where there's always a demonstration of mediumship as part of our services. There's also spiritual healing that we have the power to ignite within ourselves healing, and that's been important. All of us have times in our lives where there's challenges and we need healing. So many of the members here, but most people stay because of the philosophy. It's just a simple philosophy of a way of life. And that's the reason most people stay. So most of the people, I have to say, that come to spiritualist churches are not either a medium or a healer. They're just the people that make up the community that's here. But that's
Wonderful.
part of their belief system. They embrace that life is continuous. They embrace that we can work with our own healing powers, and they embrace maybe walking through the planet a bit more awakened to their spiritual self, and those powers.
Beautiful. Um, Now, some people who may come into a spiritualist service and maybe have attended other services in other religions, there's something different that a lot of other um, services don't include, and that's the healing aspect of the service. And I know that you've spoken many times in classes of how healing can be just the healing portion of the service is just as important as the delivery of messages from spirit. Can you, for people who may be thinking about attending a spiritual service when the time comes that we can all do that again, what can you share with them for what they can expect when they go in?
Much like you would hope if someone were not well, including your pet at home, that the healing process take place. Sometimes we can't affect a cure if someone's sick with cancer, but we can comfort people through the process. So I remember the first spiritualist healing service I went to, and there's healers in the front that have been trained, and they just put their hands on your shoulder. And I was petrified to go up. I was like, oh my God, what you going to touch? What you going to do? What's it going to feel like? And
Yeah.
so, but I was brave and did it, and now I love healing, because I kind of think as the healers are working in the room to hold the space for people, and it's to balance ourselves, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of us are going through stuff, maybe not all at the same time. So it's to kind of bring into balance and to ignite the inner healer within you, I have to say. So for those moments, it's all about setting the intention towards healing, you know. And sometimes we go, through longer periods of stress. People call and they request a healing circle if someone's not been well. So maybe a group of 7 people come together. It's all free. There's no money involved. You can call the church or email the church, and we put people on the healing list. Most religions believe in healing, I have to say, so it's not unique to us. But our healing ministers are just as important as the people that work with mediumship in the church. The energy in that first 20 minutes when there might be 12 healers working in the room is just, you can feel the energy of people in meditation in the room and the presence of the spirit world as they draw near to bring healing, you know. So to me, it's an incredible time. And the energy, like I said before, you don't have to go up to a chair. You can feel it in the room. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, no
And that's a
doubt.
big part of Hydesville. We've taken on this modern day spiritualism. A belief that life goes on has been as long around for, you know, back to the Egyptians. But modern day spiritualism began upstate New York in what's called the burnt over district. Upstate New York has this history of spiritual revolution. And in 1848, most of us were going to hell for one reason or another. Everybody was really. That was, you were going for one reason and you weren't, you know. And so these free thinkers kind of started to think, well, no, we're not going to go along with that. And in 1848, through their Fox sisters upstate, in this little house, they heard this rapping in the house, and the girls rapped back, and their mom believed in the rapping. And as time went on, they came to find out there was a man who had been murdered. He was buried in the basement, and he was the one communicating to them. But I believe the spirit world was trying to open a door between two worlds, saying love isn't dead, life does go on. And since that, you know, spiritualism has kept that door kind of open. I'm a big live and let live person. If it's not for you, God bless you. Have a good day. Find what's right. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
but so the Fox Cottage is now a memorial park. And across the street where the girls went to school is something we're involved in restoring. It's an old schoolhouse from 1879, in terrible shape, but we're restoring it for the history of spiritualism. And it will become a healing temple as time goes on.
Beautiful. And you'll be having, well, actually, you've been having ongoing fundraisers for that
All the
schoolhouse
time.
project.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's one in particular, I think you have Lisa Williams that will be joining you
Yeah,
for.
Lisa Williams will be with us on June 13th. There's other, if you go to the Hydesville Schoolhouse, um, you know, .org, there's information, pictures, and everything about it. But June 13th, Lisa Williams, it was supposed to be in person, but it's going to be via Zoom now. All of the proceeds go to the Hydesville Schoolhouse Project. So we're really grateful to her. You can get tickets at thejourneywithin.org for that.
Wonderful.
So we're really appreciative of, you know, so many people that have helped with that. But that's the next big one coming up. So we fantastic. We had a big one in Massachusetts last fall. You were present for, so it was wonderful. It was like 300 people. So,
Yeah.
you know,
it's wonderful to see so many people supporting, you know, preserving history, you know, the spiritualist history, and to build the community back again in that area. Now, you've mentioned a few times in your teachings that the presence of spirit is so strong in that area. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Then you mentioned the burnt over district.
It's documented. It's called the burnt over district. So about the same time as this was awakening was happening with spiritualism in 1848, down the street in Palmyra, really 20 minutes away, Joseph Smith from the Mormon belief system was hearing God speak to him in the woods there. I've gone to the woods myself just to feel the energy. But there were other spiritual revolutions, certainly Seneca Falls, the Women's Rights Museum, the Quakers, I have to say. There was a lot of, they've said over the years in that area, they think it has something to do with how they brought the lock system into the land there. So it has something to do with ley lines and the water that was brought in. And you can palatably feel that. They also believe right where we are, much like the Oracle of Delphi, I have to say, some of the old oracles from like biblical times were known to be around sulfur springs. And while they inhaled the sulfur, it put them into an altered state, like a trance state. There is a lot of sulfur springs right around where the Hydesville property is. So we can't wait till the place is ready for us to be sitting in circle in there, I have to say, or to sit.
I can't wait.
Me neither. It's really exciting. So, but that it's well documented as an area of spiritual revolution. And I'm a big believer that that was not a one-time event. There's more spiritual revolution to come, I have to say. There's always new revelation, I have to say. I believe, the Bible said there were burning bushes and people saw angels that spoke to them and there was transfiguration. But I think the mistake was they said it was a one-time event a long time ago. And spiritualists don't live that way. They believe it's a continuing event if you tend to look at life that way. Angels still appear to people, that we do still get signs like burning bushes. Jesus showed himself on the road to Emmaus to his friends. Our loved ones come back to say hello. So it's continuing. It's not a one-time event a long time ago. So I still think out of the burnt over district there will be new revelation, and more spiritual revolution, I have to say, so which is a good thing. And particularly these days, it's a stressful time on the planet.
Yeah.
It's a very pressured time. There's a lot of difficult things, I have to say. But it's almost like, when the stone is rubbing to become a diamond, I have to say, good can come from this, and
I think so too.
I think that challenge within ourselves, as I shifted what I believe spiritually, I think we have to individually look at how can we, in whatever we can, in a way, make a difference for the change we want to see happen for equality for everyone. So we've got to be involved in that on a personal way, that we examine what can we do, is there something we can do. So there's a lot happening, and it's certainly a very stressful time on the planet, and people have to be aware of that, because we're living with that pressure. So you've got to do self-care right now. It's really important that from a deep level you consider what we just even talked about healing, that you sit in the quiet and connect to whatever the great spirit God is to you, and to really just breathe healing for yourself. So on a physical level, on an emotional level, we can stay balanced through this challenging time on our planet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's good things do come from difficult times, and I have full faith and hope in that as well. And I know that's part of the spiritualist movement, as well as the social justice aspect of it. And like you said before, it always has been with the women's suffragette movement and equality with being heard and everything. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah. And the Journey Within has a social justice committee. Nuns have always been involved with social justice, I have to say, and henceforth here we, whether it be human trafficking, I have to say, or hunger, across the planet. We're just about to announce some demonstrations for what we're calling 6,000, because of the pandemic, unfortunately, the resources have broken down for really difficult places on the planet. And right now there are 6,000 children dying a day of hunger. So much like the spiritualists of that day called for radical change, we need radical change on a lot of levels, I have to say.
And fast, yeah.
So there's things we can do, and we really are actively trying to do those in the way we can.
Wonderful, wonderful. So if anybody would like to make sure that about when this comes live, the tickets aren't live yet, correct, for the fundraiser?
Oh no, they've been live for June 13th for the demonstration. The 6,000, if you just go to the Journey Within under the events page, and we post a lot on Facebook, I have to say. I stream that probably too much, I don't know, but once a day, click. I'm not a social media person. I just do the best I can do and pray. Throw it up in the air, but it seems to work. So
it does, and who's meant to be there will be there. And yes, so it's the journeywithin.org, and keep checking back on their website, because Janet keeps adding new events, new fundraisers, new classes, all kinds of things. And if someone wants to just sort of dip their toe in the pool, so to speak, and you just kind of want to get to know what this is all about, do you have anything coming up that's sort of an overview of spiritualism that people can just sort of dip their toe in the pool?
If they wanted to join us on a Sunday morning, I have to say they're always free. You can hop on the Sunday services and just come along. I mean, you can't physically. If you could palliatively walk into my church, you feel just love when you walk into that chapel.
I do.
Which
I can attest to that.
It's an all-faith chapel. So, everybody's welcome, I have to say. And if it's your cup of tea, God bless you. And if it's not, have a nice day. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you got to find your tribe. I found my
Exactly.
tribe. But as far as mediumship and stuff, through janetnohavec.com, there's like a absolute beginners workshop coming up. There's lots of offerings, I have to say, on different things. And we're working on a new website, which will have links to recordings that are some of the, particularly the British speakers on the religion of spiritualism, I have to say. So they'll show the links to that. So you can watch,
Wonderful.
introductions to that, and people
Yeah.
just talking about the philosophy of it. So,
And you've had some wonderful talks on so many things already. I know more is coming, but there was one from Paul Jacobs, and he talked about his relationship with Gordon Higginson,
that was
and
incredible.
it really was
I have to say it was outstanding.
it
So that
really
was
really was.
very spiritual man, Gordon Higginson. And Mavis Patilla, we just did something on Sunday on spiritual awakening during challenging times, a bit of self-care, we're mindful these are stressful times and how to
Yeah.
navigate through them, but how to spiritually, continue. Spiritualists believe you should progress your own soul while you're here, so do everything you can to grow spiritually, to become a better light, or a better self of you as every day progresses. So we really do try and do that. We try and walk that walk as best we can, and all of us screw up, I have to say, but there's a lot of opportunity to do that, and I think it's really important. I think if the planet we're in that place where every soul was kind of ignited, where we do no harm, I have to say. It'd be a very different planet. I think we're moving towards that. It's
I think
not
so
easy
too.
during the stressful times, but I've always heard a beautiful thing. It's actually a friend of mine, Tom Kratzley. This is where this originated. So he said, before the orchestra plays, when they practice, it sounds god awful. They're all squeaking and making their noises and stuff. But then when they play, it's stunning. And he said the planet's like that. We're still in the warming up all these creepy different noises and stuff. But when it plays, finally, like, when the planet comes to harness the power of love and equality, we can make heaven on earth. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially maybe, I know you talked about social media earlier, like it's not really your thing, but there's definitely some things that we could do without on social media, but there's all these, I've noticed, especially this week, is we're hearing voices we normally wouldn't be able to hear how other people, to walk in someone else's shoes for a couple of minutes as they express how they're seeing their world right now, where we wouldn't be able to see from where we're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that part, because we have that aspect of this modern world, that we can actually see what you're talking about with the orchestra coming together a bit faster,
I think
to
we
be.
have to be a bit careful with social media in this whole Zoom world, though, because
Oh, I
people need
agree.
physical touch. This in
Yeah,
itself, if you believe in anything like Atlantis or Lemuria, if you subscribe to that, they're really genius aspect of everything destroyed it. So we can move this too far, I have to say,
I
as far
agree.
as not a human touch, and I don't think it's ever supposed to be like that.
No, never, never. But there's balance in everything, right?
Absolutely.
So, but it definitely is making us appreciate. I mean, that's. I was just telling some of my students last night about. I had recently just met with someone for a private sitting for the first time in weeks, months actually, and we did all the 6 feet apart, masks, everything, and my first inclination is always to reach my hand out, shake their hand if I first meet somebody, and hug them on the way out, and I couldn't do that. I didn't realize how much I needed that, and I know and I'm sure other people feel the same.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know,
I had my first socially distanced luncheon with a few friends, and it was great. We sat in four corners, further away from each other, but you just want to hug people and hold on to them a bit. That
yeah,
touch is so important, and we know that to be true of babies. If they're raised with no touch, it's a different human they raise.
it's
So
true.
it's a so I'm looking forward when we get back to it. I think it's going to be a little bit yet, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be be wonderful when we're able to do that again.
Yep.
So again, I'm going to post all the links underneath this video in a few moments, but you can go to journeywithin.org, janetnohavec.com. Is it .com, Janet?
Yep. And
Okay.
then we have that class coming up with John Holland and myself. I
Yes.
don't forget to mention that that's on June 20th. And the great thing about this, I think that's $20. There's a lot of things being offered at the minute that are not a lot of money,
Yeah.
because we have to be really mindful of people during this. So we as a church offer a lot of things that are for free, I have to say, but even some of the offerings have not been a lot of money. So that's a
Yeah.
good thing through this all, I have to say.
Accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, your service is always open to everybody.
Yep, and Wednesday nights we have at 7:30, and that's free as well, healing and message service. So you can come, you can stay, Zoom, if it's not your cup of tea, you move on, I have to say. But there's people,
Right.
the thing about Zoom, it opened up people from Thailand are coming, people from Hong Kong are coming, every country, around the world. It's really amazing to me. So I sit in awe. There is silver linings through it all. I know it's a challenging time,
Yeah.
but there are certainly silver linings if you look, because they're there. They're always there, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I love about you, Janet. You're always looking on the positive side. And you're not afraid to get your hands dirty either. You get in there and get the work done at the same time.
Oh, it's probably a fault of mine. I'm really a workaholic, but I'm lucky because I love what I do, I have to say. So they say if you love what you do, you never work a day. So
Exactly.
it's true. I'm very passionate about, what we do here, because we also do like a lot of both charitable works, like I said, for
Yeah.
the food pantry. We do demonstrations. We just had one for Kumak, made $800 for the local food pantry. So it's kind of a continue of my mission of when I was a nun, but why would I want to work the planet any other way?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I can't imagine going back, right?
It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of light workers out there. There are wonderful people in the spiritual communities that you and I circle in. So, I've got to give them their due too, because it makes, whatever darkness there is, there's a lot of light out there too. You can see it
Absolutely.
in good people, and there are a lot of good people around still.
There is, and in spite of what, I mean, we do have to focus on what needs to change, but boy, there are a lot of, I think there's more good than bad. I really believe that.
Me too. I really
Yeah.
do. And you can be the yeast in that, you can be the person that brings a bit of light. But I think we have to educate ourselves how we can just not talk about it, so it goes back to how it's been, because there's been these episodes, unfortunately, of real injustice. How do we really make change? How do we, move it ahead so the story does change as we move forward? Inequality for everyone.
Exactly. And also to, to look within ourselves too and say, what do we need to change to see? I think we're all a part of it in some way, whether we realize it or not. Somehow, somewhere we can make a change. What we do on a daily basis that can affect that as well. So that's
Yeah.
I believe that.
No, I agree with you totally.
With the Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know you took some time out of your busy schedule to do this. I'm
Oh,
not going to keep you. I know you've got things to move on to in the next hour. So thank you so much for being on. I love you, and I can't wait to hug you in person.
thank you.
And
I'll just mention too that we're going to be having a dem. I think it's July 25th. So
oh,
people want to come along. I
yes.
think it's going to, well, we haven't worked on Zoom together, I think. So watch out for details as that as well. So we love being with people. And this really, I have to say, you really palpably feel the presence of spirit, even though we're doing this on Zoom. So I think maybe they're harnessing the power of the energy to be part of it. So,
I think
because
so
the
too.
intelligence that we work with from the other side is just brilliant, I have to say.
It really is. We just have to trust it. Right. Yeah, and I found that too. I was a little bit skeptical the first time that, well, not skeptical, nervous probably, when I did that first dem with you and Anthony, because I'd never really done it. I've never done a dem on Zoom before, and we wouldn't be seeing anybody, and but it really didn't work. I could feel the power, so it does work. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Very good.
blessings with everyone and stay safe.
Right, blessings, everyone. Thank you, Janet. I'll
Thank
talk
you
to you
so much.
soon.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.